All right, we'll get started. I'm going to share my screen with you so we can get started. Again, we're going to cover um, a couple of different things tonight. We'll do a little bit of band stuff for those who are interested in getting plugged in a little bit early, so you know how to do that. But we want to cover registration as our main topic. So this PowerPoint is linked on our band website. It just says High School Registration 101. You click on it and it's a PDF document of this. So if you want to review this again later, you're welcome to. Put this together with the help of some of our counseling department at the high school. I just kind of sat down in the office with them and said, hey, what are some suggestions and tips I can tell our band folks to make their time of signing up for classes going to ninth grade easier, as well as answer some questions they have so the counselors don't have as difficult a time either, because you'll be able to show up as a parent and know kind of what to expect and have a better understanding. So the first thing here is what we're going to go over. So what's required for graduation? What are colleges looking for? The big rigor word that you'll hear a whole lot tossed around. We got a lot of really smart students, and especially in band, and so that comes into play a little bit. And then just different myths about course offerings and enrolling in band, because there's some, there's misinformation everywhere, and so there's some maybe held on to ways things might have been a long time ago that aren't true anymore, or some things that people just assume are the case and actually are not. So just to kind of help out with that a little bit. So what's required for graduation? So your student will need to take 4 English language arts, have 4 credits. So that's one every single year. 4 math credits, 4 science credits, 3 social studies. So there's a year of that that's not required in social studies. 1 health and PE, and that's a requirement for all students across our country to have that health and PE. And then 3 CTAE, which is computer technology. I couldn't remember what the A was earlier. If someone wants to drop that in there. I don't know if it's academic or something else, but it's kind of career tech pathway, language, like foreign language, and then of course fine arts like band and chorus and drama and art and all those things. And then you have to have 4 just basic electives. So being in band satisfies 2 of those categories. Right, you're a fine arts and fine arts is an elective as well, so you kind of get a little double dive there. And folks who want to go to a state school need to have that foreign language credit. Those who aren't going to, or it's not required to go to every college to have that foreign language. So sometimes people get into that track and maybe don't need to be there or worried about that, I should say. There it goes. Agricultural, that's right, because they've got the greenhouses in the back. Thanks, Ms. Hackney. So total of 23 credits are needed. And it's difficult, and that's the conversation that's been talked about. Block scheduling has similar issues where there's not a whole lot of places to mess up, where you got to take a class over again. We do have a number of opportunities between summer school, Apex. There's some digital options, I'm sure, coming down the pike after we've done all this digital stuff to make up courses. Coming up, if a student ends up behind a little bit, obviously we want to try and head that off and help those students before that's the case, so they don't have to do extra work. But those are the basic requirements. All right, so some definitions, and I just copied and pasted this from the state information. So modern language is for students whose native language is not English. I'm sorry, I skipped ahead. All students are encouraged to earn 2 units of credits in the same modern language or Latin. So French, I think we do German, there's I think Chinese, Spanish, maybe French, maybe one other. Students planning to enter or transfer into a university system of Georgia, so UGA, Georgia Tech, anything that's in Georgia State, Kennesaw, Georgia Southern, anything that's in the university system of Georgia, or other post-secondary institutions have to take 2 units from the same language. So you got to take Spanish 1 and Spanish 2, or German 1, German 2, so on. Not Spanish 1 and German 1, because it's not consecutive. Georgia Department of Technical and Adult Education institutions, the technical college system of Georgia, don't require the language portion for admission. So if you're going to go that route, your student wants to go into the technical college system, they're not going to be required to do that. They can pick up some other electives that'll probably help them there. We've got like construction, we've got collision auto repair. There's all kinds of stuff that'll lend itself more towards that. There's computer science, different things like that that may play there. That'll open up some more electives for them to grab a couple of those courses. Students whose native language is not English may be considered to have met the foreign language expectation by exercising the credit in lieu of enrollment option. If they're proficient in their native language, they've got a formal examination is not necessary if other evidence is available. So that would be contact your counselor, administrator to fill out that necessary paperwork to be exempt of that. All right, over here, the different main places you needed for English language arts. Required of all students, full credit from American Lit composition, and a full unit of credit in 9th grade literature and composition will be required. So some of this is going to be automatically, your students will be automatically enrolled in because they have to take it. So there won't be a whole lot of pick and play through this particular part, but there will be when it comes to electives and social studies, there's social sciences, there's some opportunities to make some decisions there. All courses that can satisfy the remaining units of credit identify with a C, writing, conventions, listening, speaking, reviewing strands of the Georgia Student Performance Standards will be taught in sequences 9 through 12. Literature modules can be taught in a sequence 10 through 12. So that's kind of showing you a little more of the nitty-gritty details about what goes into getting all those, but they kind of have there with American literature composition and 9th grade literature and composition are a little more specific units of credit. And then as you're looking at the course offerings, you can see things with the C that'll note other things that qualify under that as your student advances through high school. For math, they have to have 4 units of credit for all students, including Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 or its equivalent. So it only lines out 3 specifically that have to be taken, but you need 4 credits. So there is some opportunities for some of the other core mathematics as your student goes through. Again, some of that has to do with maybe their aspirations after high school as to what they want to do. Additional units need to be completed, needed to complete 4 credits in mathematics must be chosen from the list of AP or IB designated courses. I don't think we might have one IB course. We mostly offer AP in Cherokee County. They're very similar designations. I think IB is more common in different parts of the country. Students with disabilities refer to mathematics graduation requirements, graduate guidance department. Maybe you should learn how to read from the Georgia Department of Education for the most current requirements for students with disabilities. So if you have a student with a disability, you might want to, again, be in communication. You probably already are with your counselor at the high school. They'll be assigned based on alpha and kind of discuss that with them. So you're making sure to get all the resources possible. I know in our COVID age of digital, that's been exceptionally difficult for families with students with special needs to get all of their services while we've been digital. And my encouragement would just be communicate as often as possible with counselors and administrators there. So you're getting as much as you have access to because they're trying to figure out how to offer those things as well. For science, 4 credits of science are required for all students, including 1 full unit of biology, a required course, 1 unit of either physical science or physics. So there's a choice to be made there. 1 unit of either chemistry, earth systems, environmental science, or an AP IB course. That's advanced placement. I forget what IB is. And 1 additional science unit. So then they have to take biology, either physical science or physics, and then 1 of these 3 specific options or an AP course. And we have a good bit of those in science offered as well. Let's see if it'll pop up the chat window here. True school fashion. It's wanted to act really good today. Social sciences, 3 units of credit here. 1 unit of credit will be required in U.S. history. 1 credit will be required in world history. So those are kind of spoken for. 1/2 unit of American government civics will be required, and 1/2 economics will be required as well. I think they usually partner those up the same year for students there. It still doesn't want to show me the chat. There it goes. Miss Hackney, by the way, is assistant band director for a good reason. She should be in charge now. She's answering more questions than I am. International Baccalaureate, but it's a similar program to the AP program. If you're not familiar with that. Health and physical education. This is something that's actually written into law, I think. 1 unit of credit in health and PE is required. Students combine 1/2 or 1/3 units of credit of health and personal fitness, or advanced personal fitness to satisfy the requirement. This is something we need to try and work with folks in our state to try and add marching band to this, because we definitely sweat enough. 3 units of credit in JROTC. So if you have a student who's interested in junior ROTC, after 3 credits of that, they do get that signed off as part of that program. It can be used to supplement that rule. And the local board of education has to approve the use of that, which they have in our county. So that's something that's available to us as well. We do have students that do JROTC as well as band. It does eat up both credits for your electives each year. So it locks other things out where you don't have time to do those, but it does help satisfy things like the PE course as you're going. All right, what are colleges looking for? So colleges are looking for students that follow a clear pathway through their high school career. So for example, with band, that might look like taking band all 4 years. So they're going to progress from intermediate band, which is what is offered. And I think Mr. Johnson and I noticed last year that it says in the course description that it's for students who've not been in band. And that is completely incorrect. That is where 9th grade students go their first year at Etowah, is into intermediate band. Last year we had caught that, and I was going to email Mr. Sanderson, who's in charge on our campus, see if we can change the wording of that. And the pandemic happened and it didn't happen. So I already emailed him just so it's not only in my head, to see if we can adjust that for next year, because it does provide some confusion. So if you're talking with other parents, let them know that's just the 9th grade band class, and that verbiage is not accurate for the way things are set up at Etowah. But taking intermediate band, the next step would be to practice and develop into advanced band, which is the next level course for that. And then our top ensemble is mastery band, and shows a pretty high level of proficiency. So they're looking for maybe for you to work from the intermediate through the mastery level of the band program. Maybe you're in marching band as well, and you work for being a member. Maybe you're a section leader or a captain or equipment manager or something, leadership type role in that organization that shows that you've gone from here all the way up to the top that's offered, just kind of like an athlete moving from, a 9th grade squad up to varsity by the time they graduate, showing that you're learning. Jumping from one path to another will not show that commitment.
So it's like a little parent thing.
Oh.
No. Colleges look for students who are growing through their high school career. This also, we're going to talk about this when we get to the page about rigor, but they're looking for students who are growing throughout high school, so they don't stagnate or go backwards. And again, we'll talk about that in rigor because it kind of applies there more so than anywhere else. Many colleges look at students' unweighted GPA. Weighted GPA is mostly only used for class rank. And that means you get bonus points basically for AP, bonus points for honors at different levels. And then on level courses, you just get kind of your basic grade point averages calculated. Honors gets a few extra points, and the AP gets more than that because it's a more difficult course. So they weight that. But the college itself is going to start out by looking at your students' unweighted GPA. So keep an eye on that as you go through school, because that's going to be a much better indicator of actually how that college process is going to go, more so than the weighted GPA. Colleges look at SAT and ACT scores. Some schools are doing a little bit less than this, and especially during the pandemic, this has gotten a little more crazy. But I imagine if we can get our communities on the mend a little bit and moving back towards kind of what we were like, at least closer before the pandemic, I imagine this will probably likely come back to being a little stronger component. It's been really difficult to get students into tests. So they are still offering these tests, obviously, and colleges are still using these. So make sure you kind of keep an eye out for ACT and SAT. I know they offer the PSAT, which is a practice SAT for younger students. That kind of gives them an idea of how they do. That's also how you can qualify for things like national merit and that kind of stuff. So awesome, Alicia. And like I said, we're recording this, so if you want to catch the end of it later, thanks for stopping in with us tonight. Colleges look to see what extracurricular activities students have been involved in and how consistently they show involvement in their community. Colleges are looking for depth and not a laundry list. And that was something the counselors brought up big time when we were talking about these different things last year. Depth is more important than a laundry list. And I think there was a time where college were looking for the laundry list, and it kind of pushed students to do a little bit of this sport and a little bit of that sport, and a little bit of this club and a little bit of that club. What they found was those were kind of shallow learnings because you never got really good at anything because you kept bouncing around to different things. They want to see that you'll commit to that program. I know as being a music major myself, one of the things that we found out was one of the number one accepted undergraduate programs in a medical and law school is actually music education, or music programs, because the rigor of that program is so difficult. If you can stick with it for 4 or 5 years, the medical and law school knows you'll be able to commit to their program as well. And so that kind of showed basically grit and tenacity in that application process. So that's kind of what the colleges are looking for. I think I skipped over here under the ACT one, but you should look at a few potential colleges and see if they have a preference. Some schools are more interested in SAT, some are looking at ACT, some will have scholarships attached to one or the other. And obviously, you don't want to take a test that the school you really want to go to doesn't really care about too much. You want to make sure that you stay focused on that. So it might be a good, like, just, hey, what's your thought about this or that or the other with your student, and maybe start putting together maybe a couple colleges I'm interested in. It might be that it's close by, like Kennesaw, and they're like, I really want to go to Kennesaw because it's down the street. Cool. And then look up a couple other colleges and universities and just see what they're expecting, so your student kind of knows as they go how to plan that. Again, you might start that sophomore year, but if you start a small discussion about it freshman year, kind of grow that discussion as you get closer to senior year, and it will make it not quite so overwhelming as you go and talk to other parents that have kids graduate. They can be invaluable in how to do all that stuff because there's FAFSA, there's just lots of things for college. The school will go over some of that stuff with your students. They'll provide lots of resources for parents, but also good information from other parents is never something to pass up. So what is rigor? This is like the biggest thing, and it also sometimes comes in to be the biggest thing that folks will use for a reason to not be in band, is they're trying to get those rigor points. So colleges will use ninth grade as a baseline year to assess where a student started. So really all of the things that matter towards college are going to start in ninth grade. How did you do there? It's assumed that from ninth to 12th grade, classes increase in difficulty. That doesn't mean going from on level to honors to AP. That means staying in the same track all the way through. Those classes are going to get harder regardless from ninth to 12th grade. Grades should show growth as difficulty increases. This is rigor. So for example, if I'm a student and I'm taking on-level math and I get an A in my freshman math class, go me, great job. I didn't slack off, good for me. And we think I need to move up to AP next year because I did so good. Maybe the teacher's even on that. And I take an AP class and I get a C this time. That doesn't show I'm keeping up with my rigor. It shows I'm falling behind the rigor simply because I chose a course that was maybe too difficult. Maybe I wasn't ready for how that class is set up because AP classes are pretty intense. Or it could be, maybe even something in my life changed and it was tough to concentrate on what was going on. But from a college standpoint, they're just going to see those grades and they're going to see that I didn't keep up with my rigor. Now, if somebody moves from on level to honors and they maintain an A, or they go to AP and they maintain that A as they move up in difficulty level, that's going to show extra rigor being picked up by the student because they're not going from on level to on level. They're going from on level to honors or on level to AP and maintaining that GPA where it was before. So you got to kind of gauge how that's going to be. Sometimes students can do a full class load of AP classes by their second, third, fourth years where they're taking all AP. Those students have a really stressful life. Some of them need that to get into the colleges they want to get into. Some of them feel like there's some peer pressure that pushes them that direction. And some of them just think that they need to take AP. I am never going to tell a student not to take an AP class, but I do encourage students and parents to think about what the purpose of that's going to be. Is it going to put your student in the place they need to be? Because those AP classes can get really intense and difficult. And if a student has the study skills to keep up with it, then they're great. Maybe they take one AP class instead of a whole slate of them. Maybe they take two, maybe they take three. Maybe they're really interested in English language arts. They take AP there, but in science, they take honors. So there's ways to pick up rigor without going in the complete deep end of the pool without knowing how to swim. The next bullet point here, honors and AP offerings do increase the rigor again, but here's some things to keep in mind when planning advanced classes, and basically break down what we just talked about with myself as the student example instead of student A and student B. So feel free to read through that. I probably typed it out better than I just explained it in words, because I took more than just on the spot to talk about it to type it out. And the last thing are the common myths about band and graduation credits. The biggest one that we see is I have to take health and PE and a foreign language in 9th grade. So there are online options to satisfy health and PE credit. You need to talk with your counselor now about that option, because there are some deadlines to be signed up for that. There is some cost associated with that, and so that's not an option for everybody. We've had students who maybe delayed taking PE their freshman year to take it sophomore year. Because the biggest reason people try and do it in 9th grade is because they want to get it for their driver's license. Most students aren't driving until their sophomore year. And there's some other ways you'll see to get the requirements for your driver's license, even if you haven't quite been in that program just yet. Only 2 foreign language credits are required if enrolling in a college part of the university system of Georgia. Some students are like, I got to take that Spanish. I got to do it, but they're not planning on taking Spanish 4. And if you're not planning on taking Spanish 4, you only need the 2 foreign language credits to graduate and get into that university system of Georgia. So you're pushing real hard real early, and you can spread that out a little bit, which will allow you a little room to keep band in your schedule. And to talk about the driver's license, you can take the ADAP program, which is the part that a lot of people try and do the health and PE for a driver's license online. So they don't even have to be in the class to get that requirement satisfied. And there's a link there to that particular part of the DMV, or I guess it's the DDS now. It was DMV when I was a kid. The DDS. So if you are interested in that, you can follow that link and check that out. If I don't start high school with AP courses, I won't get in the college that I want. Again, to go back to rigor, 9th grade is a baseline colleges use. So you want it to be a solid year to set the tone for what you're going to do for the next 3 years. So you've got good grades that you can keep up with and maintain as you move through. It may be that you're capable of those AP courses, but really think about that as you come into school. You want a good start. You don't want to come in, take an AP course, and take your GPA out of the gate, because that's not going to show what you want to show those college recruiters. You're going to be adjusting to a high school schedule. Like the biggest thing we see from Booth to Etowah is just because of our campus. The bell rings, nobody gives you instructions. You just have to go to class. And you have to walk across 80 acres of property to get to your next class, because as a freshman, you're going to have a foreign language and you're going to have a science. And they're on opposite ends of the campus. Lunch, go sit down, eat. Like there's not as many parameters on how you go about your day as there were in middle school, just because it's high school. Your teachers expect you to check in on things. They're working to make sure you're ready for college, and so they're going to be there to support you, but they're also going to be there to push you a little bit to be a little bit more independent. So there's a lot of learning involved with that. You have extracurriculars. My hope is that our band students coming up to high school are interested in participating in marching band, which is a great activity. We're going to preview and talk about a little bit in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for a meeting for that, where it can really help students connect in on campus. But that also is a lot of schedule. And sometimes that can turn students off or parents off to participate in marching band. And as my students who have done that, even non-pandemic years, will say, it's not impossible. It takes planning, but it's not impossible to still get that done and be successful in high school. And I've had parents tell me when marching band was over, even though marching band was like 3 days a week plus weekends when we got to October, when marching band season was over, that's when their grades suffered, because they had so much free time they didn't prioritize like they did during marching season. So it actually teaches them a lot of life management skills that they'll need when they graduate high school and begin to live on their own. So it's a really good training ground for that. But that's an ad for a different night. The last one, I can't take band and choir in high school. this one bothers me. And there are schools that are this way, and sometimes it's unavoidable. But most of the time, it's work. We can work it out. Mr. Hall and I have known each other for a long time. Um, we taught together at Centennial High School. My very first year teaching, he was working orchestra and choir there, and got to know each other there. So we know each other really well. I mean, we took our new babies to the zoo last weekend and looked at animals together. We're real close, and so we talk a good bit, and we make sure that our schedules work the best for our students, and we don't offer our freshman level courses at the same time anymore, so that students don't have to choose. And we try and do that as a fine arts department. So even if they want to do band and art, they have an opportunity to try both of those out, or drama and chorus, or whatever combination. Um, so it's possible to do that, but you have to figure out that solution for the health and PE and foreign language, because you only get 2 of those elective credits a semester, because you have to take the ELA, you've got to take the science, you've got to take the social sciences, you've got to take the math, and so on. And you only have 6 periods to get that taken care of. So it requires more planning, but it's not impossible. And talking with me, talking with Mr. Hall can help make sure that that happens. And if you're somebody in art or drama, same thing, just different teacher. Miss Forrest is fantastic. Coach Say and Miss Dean are also fantastic teachers, and we all work really, really well together. So it's mostly about communication to make that work. So I think that is our presentation. Yep. So I'd like to open it up for questions. If anybody has a question about something that we covered, like more information on it, you can type that into the chat and we can discuss, or you can unmute your microphone and we can just talk about that. Again, this meeting is not comprehensive. It's just meant to provide you some information in case you had not come across it yet or needed some more details. Jazz band, this year's been real weird. I had planned to start jazz band in January, but then we went digital for 2 weeks, and I thought we need to just put a pause on that for a minute. Hopefully we'll be able to do it February or March, so we have it for the end of the year. But it is extracurricular. Jazz band will meet after school. We tend to not start it until at least November. Usually we start in November and we prepare some music for the holiday concert in December, because marching band takes up so much of everybody's time. And I know that concert students that don't do marching band may want to do jazz band, but from a teacher standpoint, I just don't have any more nights. And now I've got a kid I need to get home to also. And so there's just not any more hours in the day to offer that until November. And that's when marching band kind of knocks off. But then we get that started up. I'm a trombone player. I played in a big band for 3 years before I moved back to Georgia for my job time in Mississippi. It's one of my favorite art forms. So I enjoy teaching it, and we learn a lot of different styles. We don't just do big band, but we have a good time. Our district offers district jazz band, as well as there's an all-state jazz band to audition for in high school as well. The all-state one's pretty challenging. I don't shy kids away from it, but I do tell them they need to practice. There's some improv associated with that all-state level. District jazz bands, just some of their modes and scales that they'll need to prepare, along with some sight reading in a jazz style that they'll see at that level. But we talk about that so the kids have an opportunity to figure that out before they run in there trying out for that. But we offer jazz, just extracurricular, about 1 day a week. We do a couple concerts a year. Yeah, I guess from programs, we offer marching band. We have our concert bands and orchestras. We have Winter Guard. We just started an indoor percussion group this year to help our percussionists keep up their skills, and that's been real exciting. Jazz band. We offer, let's see, what am I missing? I think that's most of our large ensembles that we have available. We usually push students to try out for, or not try out for, but prepare for solo and ensemble, where they can get with a friend and do that. We've done that the last couple of years. Students have had a good time with that. They can get a medal for that. Yeah, orchestra meets first period. So if you know somebody who plays a string instrument, you could take orchestra and band. I have some students to do that. You just, again, have to watch your credits with your health and PE and your other electives there. We have a lot going on in our band program all the time. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun, and then the kids enjoy participating too, which makes it worth it. Other questions?
Mr. Long, I want to take off my assistant band director hat and put on my parent hat and just talk about what a great benefit it has been to my junior who has done both band and chorus, and just the way that has affected her academics in such a positive way. A lot of that, that mental stability and the tenacity that she gets in playing her music and performing transfers into the classroom. So it's worth working it out. If I had to say one regret that we have at our house is that we didn't do the health and PE between 8th grade and 9th grade. So now here we are getting ready to try to spend a summer, getting that done, closer to graduation. So if that's something that, you're interested in, please definitely reach out to the counselors and do that early. Don't wait. I was like, oh no, enjoy your last summer without, major things for high school, relax a little bit. Yeah, that was, at a parent standpoint, that was probably a mistake. So definitely get that done early.
Aaron, you asked about jazz essential elements. We use a book, and when I taught middle school, I actually was lucky to have a jazz class every day, which was a lot of fun. And we used the Standard of Excellence jazz method. If you do book 1 on that, it's a good place to start. And with the high school, we do the advanced method where it talks a little more on the improvisation. But that Standard of Excellence jazz method kind of breaks down the different styles and some of the specific things for how to go about that jazz stuff. And you could probably go through that book on your own, kind of like your Essential Elements book, and learn some of that on your own. There's a lot of really good information in that book. Any comments? Some of y'all, like Miss Hackney, have students in the high school, and you're coming around for round 2 or round 3 at the high school. Yep. I don't know if we got anybody going around 4 since I've been here. I haven't been there quite that long yet. I know they're coming though. I know some of the faces that'll be back again, and that's a lot of fun. I enjoy being around our students. They know how to enjoy being around each other. They have a good time. There's never too far away from a speaker and a phone playlist and a dance party for a few minutes when they find some dead time in between things, or they'll hang around the band room after school for a few minutes. They'll have to kick them out because they're just hanging out a little bit. I'm not sure I understand. You're talking about the contrabass clarinet, Aaron? We need to recruit some more clarinets so we have enough bodies to move over to that, but there's some opportunities for that. We have a couple of those bigger clarinets in the back room. They just haven't been used very much. David, usually what time do we meet for marching band? If we can get back to last year type schedule, which I think we'll be able to do in the fall, we'll start band camp. I think we published those dates on our social media, which is the 2 weeks before 2 weeks before teachers come back, because I have to be in meetings and stuff those days. But then we meet for sectionals. So you'll work with your section on Mondays after school for about an hour or so. Then Tuesdays and Thursdays, we work from 5 to 8 o'clock. So that gives us time to learn the drill, memorize our music, make sure we know all the posture and moves and how to get on and off the field, as well as some time in the stadium. Football team works with us on Tuesday night so we can get on the main field and practice there, so we know what it feels like to be in a stadium and not just on our parking lot, which is getting a little small because our program's growing. So that's kind of our basic schedule. Then, of course, we have Friday night games that'll happen. Hopefully we'll be able to travel next year. We'll have to see how the county approaches that when we get to football season next year. But home games, travel for that. And then we'll do 3 to 4 competitions or performances in the month of October. For judges, we do a Cherokee County exhibition as well. We'll have judges come and just provide some feedback. So it won't be competitive, but we'll still perform for our community. And that's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. Marching band, I won't lie. When I was young in my career, I kind of beat around the bush on how much work marching band was and just caused kids to sign up and quit. And so I'm real upfront. Marching band is a lot of work, but anything worth doing, it's worth doing right, as my granddad always would say. And it's a lot of work because the payoff is great as well. When you have a stadium clap and cheer for you, it's pretty fantastic. And we go on bus rides and we go places and we do all kinds of fun stuff like that too. So other questions, comments, quips?
Vantober is coming.
I'm excited. I'm excited. And we will have a kind of informational meeting specific to marching band because there's all kinds of paperwork and different things we're going to have to do for that. What book should you get? We'll cover that a little bit closer to next year, Aaron. You can also talk with your elder siblings. They can help get you on the right track there too. Hey, Warren. Oh, cool. Well, let me do one last thing, and that way people who watch the recording can also see that too. If you want to get plugged in a little bit early, you're welcome to hop in. We use a program called Band, which is kind of aptly named, I guess. Basically it stands for a group of people is considered a band, but we're also a band. And so we'll use this app to communicate with, because it allows us to do calendars. It allows us to share different information. Let's see if I can get this to the right place. Our website, feel free to peruse that. We'll update information on forms and paperwork and stuff. You can join our band group by clicking on this link and setting up an account with band. It's a mobile device, but you can also access it on your computer. The member word is intensity. So when you join, it'll ask you what word is posted by the back door or something. If you put exit, that's fine too. But intensity is kind of one of our words we try and live by in the band program. But it basically feels like Facebook. We put updates. There's dates and calendars and things that we have here. Mine looks a little different than yours will because I'm an administrator, but it keeps upcoming events over here, and it's a great way for us to push out information to folks in our organization in a centralized place so that we can communicate a little bit more effectively. And it also has a place for pictures, which has been really handy to collect those images throughout the year from parents who take pictures on their phone. Helps us with banquet and those sorts of things. Right, Bethany? I'm picking on her. So if you want to hop in there, you can follow that link and just intensity is the word you want to type in when it asks you. And then feel free to look around, see what's going on. You'll get notifications as marching band stuff starts spinning up, in addition to anything we may send through Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Long, on another parent note, that transition from middle school to high school from a parent standpoint can be a little different because the communication level is going to be different than what you're used to at the middle school. Whereas the middle school, we do a lot of, for those that don't know, I do teach 7th grade at Booth also. We do a lot of communication directly with the parent as far as school-wide events and different, offerings for students. Whereas at the high school, it's more directed, that communication is directed to the student. So I know a lot of parents have said that they go from getting all sorts of information to, not knowing what's going on. One of my experiences has been that with band, there are so many veteran parents that help out, you get to know and make some great relationships with, who help you navigate that transition to high school, who have a lot of great information as well. So this is just another way to stay connected with your kiddo. and get that information that you want for high school. And the other parents, if you want to chime in or agree or disagree, I know that's been my experience.
It takes a village to raise kids, and we've got a great village, by the way. We really do. And they can help you figure out stuff like how to get a Letterman jacket and like stuff nobody sends the information out about at all, or what to do about this thing. Our parents are really helpful with that. Awesome. Well, if you have any questions that pop up, or someone who wasn't able to be here and either watches the meeting later, or maybe doesn't get to watch it and they have any questions, they are welcome to email me directly. They can obviously work through Mr. Johnson as well. He knows a lot of what's going on. We weren't sure if he would be able to make it tonight, and then I didn't check my phone, and he was like, "Hey, can you send me a link?" And that was 30 minutes ago. So it's my fault he wasn't here. So I apologize publicly on social media and everywhere to Mr. Johnson for locking him out of this meeting tonight. He's a great resource. He's worked with the Etowah Band for years. I actually met him helping Etowah back when I was in college. And so not to make him an old man, but I've known him for a long time. He's a great dude. He knows a whole lot, and he cares about the kids that we teach to the end of the earth. And so he's a great resource for that. He'll shoot me an email if somebody has a question, but you can email me directly also. My email is Stephen, Stephen, just like my box here, long at CherokeeK12.net, just like all the teachers in our county are now. So you can find my email address all over the website. It'll be in any communication that gets sent out. And again, Mr. Johnson has that as well. So feel free to email me. My goal is to be a resource for you as parents as you navigate high school, not just for band, because I recognize that all of my band students will not grow up to be band directors. Some of them may. I will do my best to discourage them from that. It's a tough degree program. It's super worthwhile, but you got to be you got to be ready for it. So I recognize that they may not go into professional careers in music, but they will need to know how to manage their time, how to show up on time, how to be responsible adults, and how to communicate. And that's what I'm trying to teach these students as they come through our program, primarily through music and having a good time. So I appreciate y'all stopping by tonight and for interacting with us. I'm looking forward to meeting the students next year. Hopefully we'll be able to get past some of this craziness we've got currently, get back to some of our regular operations, because it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. And it's well worth it. And parents get an opportunity to socialize with other adults as well, but helping out. And if your kid doesn't like having you around because they're middle schools, they're teenagers, and they're angsty, you can help out and still see what they're up to and who they're hanging out with, but then help other students a little bit as they go and still kind of be around your kid until they realize they do want you around, because they'll come back around, I promise. I promise. So that's one of the things I guess I'm not looking forward to later in the parent life. But I like my dad a lot now. There was a bit of a time where I didn't think he was very smart, and now he's really, really smart that I'm a little bit older. So I appreciate it so much. And we'll hopefully see y'all real soon. Hopefully we'll be able to see each other in person. So have a good night, everybody.